What is going on, good people? I hope you guys are doing fantastic today and Sunday. We are getting ready for the week. And in case you've been walking around with your eyes closed over the past week, GameStop has essentially put a dent in every headline out there with this short squeeze against the hedge fund managers. But being said, I don't want to talk too much about that. There's plenty of good videos out there discussing about short squeeze and how essentially this is all being panned out. But with that being said, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So what do we look for this week? Well, there's a lot of different things. I think the market in general is responding to the GameStop issue. I don't know if this is turning into a liquidity issue or what the case is. But one thing we did notice on Friday, or on Thursday, I should say, we had a nice bounce after Wednesday's massive sell-off. Again, there was a lot going on Wednesday. But being said, we bounced right back Thursday, and then we continued to sell off about midday Thursday into Friday. So this week, we do have some big earnings coming up this week. We do have Amazon, we do have PayPal, we do have quite a bit of big earnings this week. So the market could really go which way, but looking at the past earnings over this past week, Apple, Facebook, Tesla, the biggest names, Microsoft. Microsoft seemed to be the only one that flew high. Again, coming up on future projections on what the company is doing, I think has helped Microsoft. But in other terms, as far as Apple, Facebook, and Tesla, I think it has hurt it because there has been quite a bit of sell-off. I know Tesla had a little bit more than that. They weren't profitable this quarter. That being said, so that Tesla did drop quite a bit. But looking forward to this week's earnings, I think Tuesday Amazon earnings is really going to set the pace of what is going on, depending, again, all on what is going on with GameStop. I do feel that if for some reason GameStop starts to sell off, I think the market will recover and bounce. Is there facts to back that? At this point, it's hard to tell. It's hard to really tell. There's no news that is pushing us down. It could be a liquidity issue. Not really sure. But I've definitely been looking at GameStop and seeing how it's moving along with the market, trying to determine if that's what the case is on this sell-off. Again, there's not really a lot of other catalysts that could be causing this. Not in my eyes anyway. I haven't really seen anything flying over other than the GameStop stuff, but this week will be interesting nonetheless. But before we get into the charts, I actually wanted to pull up some ARK Invest. This is something I wanted to essentially start kind of incorporating in these videos. And look at what ARK Invest has essentially been looking at this week in their activity as of Friday, right? So as of Friday, one thing I did notice is they are starting to buy back into Tesla, which is interesting, especially because looking at the charts from my perspective, I think Tesla could sell a little bit more. And I talked about this last week, even before I saw ARK starting to buy back Tesla. Tesla still has a lot of stuff, Tesla, I think this year will accelerate on the energy side of the house, not the cars. I think, again, a lot of people get caught up in the cars and the sales of the cars, but I think it's going to be more than that. It's going to be more about energy storage, the solar roofs, all those kinds of things I think are really going to propel Tesla this year, as opposed to the cars. The cars will still, yes, put up good numbers, I think, but ultimately it's more about the energy side of the house when it comes to Tesla. So in my opinion, that is why ARK is starting to buy back more into that. I myself, and I'm sitting in still a good chunk of cash. I did take some extra positions on Friday. looking for that bounce. It really depends. I'm recording this at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, so got a full day before I actually see how the futures open. But I think we get a good bounce. Also, looking at this ARK Invest, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I know some Square is being sold off. Square is actually one of, I think, the big ones that's going to make a big move. If the market does bounce, I think Square is going to rip this week. Being it's going to get the sympathy play off of PayPal and the numbers on crypto coming out on PayPal. Square, especially with all the Robinhood and GameStop issues that has been going on, I think you're going to get some people jumping over to Square because they can buy stock there, looking for other platforms to go on aside from Robinhood. Square really isn't a major trading platform, but I mean, if people are just looking to hold stock, which typically that's why people liked Robinhood, because it was just a simple UI, and Square does provide that to allow you to buy stocks. Again, you can't buy every stock, but you can buy a good majority of them. So I think we might get some pump from that aspect. And I also think that, there were major upgrades on PayPal this past week. And being said, I think that is going to transition into Square, especially after earnings for PayPal. So I do believe if we do get a bounce, I really believe that Square is going to rip. But again, this is not financial advice. Again, going back to Tesla, jumping right back to Tesla real quick. I think I'm still waiting on Tesla. I do want to get back in Tesla, but it is one of those things that I want to start jumping back into, but I don't believe as far as the chart, Tesla's really been running. And if you know anything about Tesla, it will have these massive runs and it'll have a good sell-off before it bases out and starts to rip back up. So I'm waiting for a base on Tesla, especially because it is high right now. And I know people like to think Tesla always goes up. It eventually cools off and it comes down pretty good. Being said, I've been trading Tesla for a while. So with that being said, I think it could be a possibility that we do sell. And again, I'll be looking for the base to enter it. If we do have an issue, again, in the market here, we're at a critical point here. If we break this, and we still got a little bit of room, we can fall down to this next level, grab support. I think we would get another big sympathy bounce here. If we do, this is actually creating more of a wedge pattern. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hit back down here. I took an Apple position on Friday, and I added Square shares on Friday. Being said, I think, again, if we do sell off, it will just be to this level, but this level will be critical because if we do break this, I think we could fall quite a bit from that point. Let me pull this up. This is only, yeah, so I think we have, and then our next support would be that 363 mark. And then we got a bigger drop after that. So, I mean, this is our most critical here. I think if we get past this, we're going to be hurting. But one thing I did notice on the daily here is that we are hitting the 50. So normally the 50 is essentially the investors EMA, essentially is when investors get in. So it hitting here, I could see a nice bounce up. For me, I'm waiting for that bounce back up to 375. Now, if it breaks back over this 20 is going to be the question. So I'm anticipating that break and bounce up, but my stops will definitely be on it at that point. Being said, because if we don't break this 20, I think we might see a little bit more of a sell-off before we actually bounce back up. And our 200 is way down here at 342. Again, that solid support is at 354. So we might see a little bit more of a sell-off. I'm not really sure. To be honest, we have to see how we open up tonight and go from that point. So tonight is definitely critical to see where the market opens. Again, in my opinion, I think we are at a solid support here for us to essentially propel back up. There is no major news to bring us down. Again, I think what this move might be is just a liquidity thing when it comes to the sell-off in GameStop. I think is what is causing this move down. Again, this could possibly get out of control. Could be a liquidity crisis just because of the way things are playing out with GameStop. If that's the case, we could start selling off more and then come back down to this. We're going to get a nice pop off that 341. Like I said, this is why I like to use the 200 EMA because we always get nice bounces off of this. But nonetheless, a good strong support is at 330. I don't see us having a March. I don't think there's not going to be that big of a pullback. I know a lot of people talk about doomsday. There's just too much money in the market right now. Will doomsday come? Of course, if you say every day it's going to come, eventually it will come. But in my opinion, even this move, I think, will just be like a maybe 10, 15% correction. It's already corrected a lot, to be honest. So in my opinion, well, we'll see how much further we got from the top to where we are now. The lowest point is a 4.5% drop. So we still got a ways. If we're going to get a 10% correction, we still got a ways. So yeah, see, even if we get into that major support down here, that's an 8.27%. If we do hit this major support, which could be a possibility. But I mean, we'll have to see again how Monday is. 10% would be around the 200 moving average. This is again why I like the 200 moving average, because you get that nice pop. Be roughly around a 10% correction. 344 again could be possible. My thing is the fundamentals are still solid. Numbers for unemployment, everything are solid. Again, you have this, I don't know if you want to call it a black swan, but you have GameStop, which may be causing liquidity issues. If that's the case, we could drop quite a bit. I know the whole GameStop and the movement and stuff like that. For retail traders, it is good. I mean, I think it's necessary. Prove your point, but I think that's where this is all coming from. Ultimately, where the rest of the market is just kind of just crapping out. But being said, if we do bounce, let's get into some more better news. If we do bounce, it's going to be I think a quick bounce out of here. I wouldn't be surprised if we gap up over this tonight. Again, just my opinion, it really depends what happens tonight and open. But I think if we gap up over this wedge here, we'll start creeping back up into all-time highs, again, back into all-time highs. Continuing with earnings. Again, I want to really see this week what is going on with Amazon. I think Amazon will definitely show which direction we are going. I think everybody's kind of anticipating what Amazon's going to go with here. Which is actually funny because the earnings for Apple and Facebook were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they've had the best numbers they've ever had, and yet we sold off. So again, there's no catalyst for the sell-off. I know there's future predictions, there's future guidance, but to be honest, I think there's a lot more positive than a lot of people think. Too much stuff when it comes to inflation stuff, it needs to build up, right? It's not going to be an overnight thing. That's the first thing everybody's talking about with all this money getting pumped. Yes, it's a real thing. Right now, again, Powell has come on multiple times and said that he doesn't see anything specific that is showing inflation. So being said, I think there's just a lot of panic from social media that's causing these wicked sell-offs for no reason. Again, people moving over to GameStop, possibly. Maybe people are liquidating and just moving their stuff over to GameStop because they're seeing the ridiculous amounts of money people are making. Who knows? I mean, it could be a lot of different things. Tesla, again, I am looking, before I really start even looking at getting back into Tesla, I think there's a real solid support down here at that 676. Now, I know you're saying, well, Tesla's never going to sell down to there. It's possible. It's very possible. Tesla moves at almost $100 increments. It doesn't matter even the fact that it was added to the S&P. It's been proven that it's still ripping these $50, $100 spreads here. So being said, I would definitely go heavy once it starts getting down here at the 677. I think right now it's still too high. I think we still got some. If you wanted to get your foot in the door, 734, start adding there. But ultimately, I think your biggest play is going to be out of here at the 676 mark. So Tesla, even if the market decides to churn up, I think Tesla will still sell off. And I talked about this going into earnings. And once it hits earnings, it's going to sell off. It's going to cool down. It needs that recharge time for the next build up into the next run. So being said, Square, again, I think is going to be a home run this week. If we do bounce, it finally it broke out of that wedge, went up on Thursday, and then Friday we just sold off because I think everything again was liquidating. We kind of pulled back underneath this trend line, which I didn't like, but ultimately it is wedging here nonetheless. So again, it really depends on how we open up, because if we open up above this line, this trend line, I think it's Square's got everything lined up, primed, I think, to make a rip for 300, especially later in the week. Again, if our ducks line up, if the market opens up, if Amazon does well and doesn't just randomly sell off for no reason, if the market, again, continues to start pushing back up, PayPal has amazing numbers, you're going to see Square tear up. At least that's what I am betting on. But we will see. Again, this is not financial advice. Airbnb, I do like Airbnb. It's one of my favorite stocks, but I think it is still too high. I think it needs to come back down. If we can actually hit this 159 mark, I would consider getting back into it. Right now, I think you're just kind of playing. A lot of these you're kind of playing with fire because it is too top heavy. I know they say in a bubble it's going to continue to go, but we've had a healthy pullback, but I think we could possibly even get a little bit more. It really all depends, but these individual stocks, I think like Airbnb could pull back a little bit more. I did take a position on Apple. It came down into this zone here. It did sell off a little bit more. I'm holding a leap in this. Again, this is why I use leaps and use shares to average down on some of these and waiting for that bigger move up. Because a lot of times this sell-off, you're anticipating to come down to here, and then, it never reaches that point because you waited for too long. I think we've had a good enough pullback. That's how I kind of gauge some of these, especially when you're playing stuff from the top down like this. That's a 10% drop in Apple, right? That's already a big drop. That's why I got my initial footing in there. If it comes back down here, I'll add another leap into that, possibly even more, because this is a more solid support. But being said, it could drop halfway, turn around, and take off. And at that point, then you would just add a leap on the pullback and continue on your way up. At least that's the way I play. Facebook, I want Facebook. Facebook is one of those ones I'll wait for the major support because you get a lot of these wicks and stuff. So I would much rather just wait till it comes down to that 247 mark. I know there was a lot of negative news on Facebook too, so trying to let that play out, give that a day or two to digest, and then it kind of goes back to normal at that point. Let's see here, and then we got BYND. Looks like it is still continuing to wedge here, so it'd be interesting to watch this one. See, it's already down to 177. If it does break above the wedge here, it might be worth taking a short-term swing on this guy and try to see if it retests that 227 mark. That'd be interesting to see. So that's definitely BYD's on watch this week as well. Etsy is the big one. Etsy is another one I think is going to move like Square. If by chance Amazon has a good earnings, I think Etsy is going to fly. I'm hoping this kind of bases out here. I believe Etsy is on the 14th. Their earnings is on the 14th. So this week, I think would be a good time to take position on this. Yet if we open up, a lot of these positions I'm talking about, or if we open up. If we open down, I will wait. But if we open up and Etsy is holding here, I will take a couple leaps out of here. Actually, I do like Etsy. It's one of the companies I do believe in a lot more. My conviction for Etsy is up there. So being said, if we start consolidating here, market opens up, I will definitely take a couple leaps out of here for Etsy. And I think once Amazon reports, I think we get a big pop out of Etsy as well as a sympathy play. And then after that point, I would write out, again, typically if we get a nice write up, I let it ride a day or two, and then I cut out of the position. Again, right now, with everything going on, I still feel like we got one nice little good move up. And as I showed it on SPY, it's at that mark where we're going to go back up and retest, get possibly a sympathy bounce. And then at that point, I'll probably start liquidating a lot more and be, again, more cash. I think right now I'm probably sitting roughly around probably like 50% cash. And so being said, I was anticipating a bounce there. Disney, their earnings is on the 14th, is February, I believe as well. Being said, I still have that leap, it's still holding well, waiting for this to pop. I think once it breaks this 200, which it's been attempting to do, once it actually breaks this, which I can see just a gap up and just run. Once it breaks that 200, I think it's gone. And we're going to be going to all-time highs at that point in anticipation of earnings. Snow, still on this one. It's actually wedging really nice here. But being said, I think everything is just waiting on the market. But Snow is a good one for this week. Lemonade, it's been playing range. So if you can grab it down here at the 137 mark, as long as market holds, I think that's a good play. Spot, it's actually broke down. It's actually getting into a good zone right here. This looks like it's starting to wedge down too, getting ready for earnings. Their earnings is on Wednesday, I believe, is when spot earnings is. So that's probably building up anticipation for that. I'm not playing this, but it could be a good outcome on that one. The very good butcher, it's holding well here. I haven't taken any new positions. I want it lower at the 438 mark before I decide to get in. If there is a bigger pullback, I will load the boat on this one down here. Planet 13, I did sell on a spike earlier in the day. On this spike, I actually sold. I was holding it. It did come back down. I was going to load the boat again, but it spiked up and it was kept. Again, that's why these positions, some of them I sell even though I get them the day before and I anticipate holding them. But with the market changes so dramatically that sometimes I was just trying to liquidate. So I sold this for some small profit. But ultimately, if we continue to hold this and the market holds, I will definitely add more back into this because I do like this Planet 13. But again, we'll see. We have to see how the market's going to open. Tomorrow's video on the daily review we'll have more insight. So I'll be able to help you guys out better with insight into what I expect for the week, especially if we open up. I think we can do some major running. But again, we will see. Evogen, I think it's still high. It needs to come down. If it does get down to that 582 mark, I'd probably give it a little bit more wiggle room, to be honest. Maybe even the 528 before even thinking about getting back in that one. Planter needs to come down. It is on a good support, but a better support. You also have the 200 here at the 3193 mark would probably be a better entry. That one would be definitely a short-term swing. If I'm trying to do a longer-term swing, I want it to be based pretty low. So we'll have to see about that. TSIA, I'm still in this one in shares. I plan on holding this one throughout the year, no matter essentially what happens. If there's a correction, I'll just add more to this. Again, this is playing off of essentially renewables for this one. So that's why I am playing TSIA, ENPH. I haven't gotten back into this one. Again, kind of waiting on these. Like I talked about before, I'm waiting for a correction, STPK. I'm still in this one, the leap on this one. I believe in this one for energy storage. So being said, I think this leap, it's obviously a leap. I don't have tons of leaps, it's just a single leap on this. So just trying to catch something out of this. If and when I wanted some kind of piece of energy storage. So that's why I'm holding on to that leap. I'm also in this one, the SPRQ as well. NIO, haven't played that. I mean, if I'm going to really play an EV stock, I mean, it's mostly Tesla is where I'll sink a lot of money in. Lucid, no, I'm not really worried about Lucid. I don't think Lucid's really going to go as far as people think. Bluebird, I'm still in this. I'm just in shares, a small position in shares. Again, one of those ones I'll probably hold throughout the year because I think it's going to really do well this year. So it's a longer term swing, even if there is a correction. Same with NGA. I believe this one is also going to pop for the same reasons. GIK, same reasons, just single leap. That's where I'm managing my risk. MP, I do have a leap in this as well. I grabbed this when it dipped on this dip on Thursday. So I do have a leap on this. It's sitting at a good strong support right here. So normally a strong support like that, that's when you want to grab several leaps if you want to go that heavy. I didn't want to go too heavy in MP, although I do believe if there is a correction and it is still sitting here, I will probably add more leaps to this because I feel like MP is definitely going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries throughout the year. But being said, just because of the renewable push for this, and this being a U.S. based company here, I think they will get a lot of kickback from the Biden administration. Space is one of those ones that again is getting a lot of moves from ARK and from the GameStop moves, being one of the most shorted stocks. Again, I just be careful with this. I know Wall Street Bets has even gone out and said to everybody to keep it to a couple stocks, GameStop and AMC essentially, because obviously if they're too spread out, they can't essentially do what they're attempting to do with a short squeeze. So a lot of the original names that came out, I know there was a list of names that came out, lists of tickers that came out talking about the different things this week. But ultimately, I think, you just have to, they're trying to focus on the primary ones that they went after, because again, if they're too spread out, they're not going to be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So there are all those tickers that you may be sitting in, wondering when they're going to kick up. That's on you. Again, not financial advice, but I don't think they're going to jump like GameStop has, unless for some reason GameStop is shut down and goes flying back to the floor and never recovers. Maybe they'll move at that point. But right now, I think, that's where they're at. And so they're going to keep their focus on the original tickers, I believe. And NDA, I really like this one, but I want it to come down further. Again, if it gets down to 1048 mark, which is where I took an original position and sold that on the pump up, but I'll be looking at that as well. 3D printing, I want this one down. If we can get here down at the 153 mark, I would definitely be looking at trying to get into 3D printing. I think, again, all this stuff is going to explode this year, all the innovation stuff. I'm trying to think here. Microsoft, still playing range. Again, earnings rocked. It's one of the only big companies that kind of stayed with it. It had Xbox and the cloud and everything. They've got a great balance sheet. All these guys have great balance sheets. That's why I don't really understand why Apple and Facebook just totally fell out, rolled off the bed essentially. There's no real rhyme or reason behind it. And then you got GameStop, rattled around a lot Friday. We'll get more volume here Monday. We'll see what it looks like on Monday. But again, be careful in these positions. Nokia has been the other one that they were hyping about getting pumped, and it's just gone flat. So again, one of the ones I don't think is going to get pumped. All the original list of all the short lists, people run to the next big move, and just not happening. Will it happen? It could happen, but I don't think it will happen. I think at some point here, it's just primarily focused on GameStop and AMC because, again, spread out too far, won't be able to accomplish what they're looking for. POW, I did sell my positions, all my positions in POW, because I was just trying to liquidate stuff because I didn't like how the market was looking. Although I still believe a big move is going to come out of this. If we do decide to go up, I might decide to get back into POW if it's not too late at that point. Just kind of monitoring that situation. But guys, I think that is actually it. So it really depends on how the market is going to open tonight. I don't want to make this video too long. This video is already pretty long, probably one of my longest videos, to be honest. I want to start actually coming out with tutorials and everything as well for you guys, having a bunch of other different things, talk about specific stocks, going in depth with stocks, doing some lives, doing a bunch of other different things coming here in the near future. So being said, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, guys, I will see you guys later.